Well, hello. It has been some time since my last video, and I still have many ideas for videos. I just haven't gotten around to them, obviously. Here we are. This is my Compaq LTE Elite 475C. 475C would probably be what you'd normally say. It is a 486 laptop. As you might guess, it's I guess you'd say a DX4 at 75 megahertz. It seems to me like it would be clock tripling, but what do I know? So yes, it has the mentioned processor. It has a hard drive. I don't remember exactly what size, and that is extremely hard to pull out. And it does have a battery, working battery, and this is not much easier to pull out. Let's see if I can do it. There we go. As you might guess, based on this has been rebuilt, and that is some random person's name who previously enjoyed this battery. But yes, it has been rebuilt with new 4/3A I don't know, 4/3A cells. Still nickel metal hydride, because that's really kind of the only way you can do it, as far as I know. I mean, you could really reinvent the wheel, I guess, and you might see the first hint of something funky going on here. That's right, this has a OpenFlops W1D. You can probably pretty easily see the USB port there, and right there is the micro SD card slot. And so yes, as mentioned, hard drive lives in here. Normally there'd be a thing to help you pull it out. There is no thing. It broke. But yes, it's an original hard drive for some kind of LTE or early Armada laptop. Probably an actual LTE because it's not that big. And then over here we have a couple of slots, a couple PCMCIA slots, not card bus. One problem is that I don't know where any of my interesting PC cards have ran off to. Well, actually, that's a lie. I think I know where the CF card one is, which is invaluable for something like this. I mean, the OpenFlop certainly does help, but that's only good for floppy disk images, you know. I should theoretically have a working network card somewhere, but that has definitely ran away. Though it should be somewhere. I haven't really looked for it. And then obviously there is a mystery port right here, and if you can tell, it has a little number pad symbol, and that is because it is for a number pad. So this is the official thing. I don't think it's official to this laptop because the logo doesn't match. Could be wrong on that. Series 2697, but anyway, it works with this laptop, whether or not it's the true original part. And then the only other interesting thing on this side is you can see the doohickey, the Kensington doohickey, which somebody has evidently used on here before. On the back, you can see there is a teeny weeny fan, which I believe I still need to make sure actually works. I don't think I've checked that yet. So that is probably recommended to check into at some point. Note to myself. And then in this door, which thankfully this door is intact, I'm kind of surprised by that. This laptop does not have brittling problems, but still kind of impressive that all the doors are intact. In fact, I think I did more damage to the doors than any of the previous people who own this, because I messed up the hard drive one a little bit. Anyway, so VGA, unlike some earlier LTEs, it is true VGA. It's not CGA or EGA or anything like that. In fact, I don't know what the LTE Lite had, or even the 386 one. I just know the 286 and before was not VGA for sure. PS2, likely a combination capable port, parallel 9-pin serial, docking connector, and of course this is the laptop, or one of a few laptops that had those monster docking stations that were just utterly ridiculous. And of course I want one, but of course they're not really even for sale anymore, and if they were to be, I'm sure it would be like $2 billion. And yes, you don't have to open that door to plug into the dock. You can open, well, you have to open this little door instead. And under here, we've got a DC charging jack, or power input. Obviously it's for more than just charging. And then there is the AC. So this has a AC power supply module, but the DC one bypasses that, and that either way voltage is stepped down and converted to the various voltages that are needed on the motherboard. And I don't know about other people who own these laptops, but having two of them now, one of them is just for parts essentially, but it does work. Apparently it seems like some of the tantalum capacitors on there seem to have a record of shorting. This one has only had one went out. I didn't even bother replacing it. They're unmarked, and I didn't really feel that it was critical. Certainly if another goes out, or just on the scale of eventually I will make that repair. I believe it was part of the battery charging part of the circuitry, but I could be wrong on that. It was a few months ago now. But in any case, it shorts and then the whole thing won't start. And if you have an AC adapter that's willing to try infinitely to start it, you can look for little sparks, and that it's not the nicest way to figure out these problems, but that's how I did it. Okay, let's see. In this side, you get nothing. And on the screen, you see the signs of something unusual happening. And those are your mouse buttons. Now, if you're not familiar with this laptop, you might be wondering, how in the world does that make sense? And well, that is because this is where your mouse is, or pointing device, whatever you want to say. Technically not a mouse, I suppose. Well, maybe it is, I don't know. But yes, so this is a little ball thing, works pretty similar to how the ball in a ball mouse would, except it gets plugged up with slimy hands and all that good stuff a lot more easily. So these clips on the sides here, which you are not in shot, those are original parts, but these little things that, like the actual clippy part, I'm probably not saying things correctly, but in any case, these parts here, these are 3D printed. There are files available for all this online for probably, if I was to guess, most of the LTE models, but I know that they're available for the 5000 series and for the Elite series. So in any case, because this is a C and not a CX or a CXE, this does have a passive matrix screen. I believe the idea with the CX is it's the same size screen. In fact, yes, this is true. It's the same size screen, but it is active matrix. So on active matrix screens, almost always, perhaps literally always, you do not have a contrast slider. And then the CXE, I believe, is, it's same resolution, but it's like an inch larger. Obviously there's plenty of bezel to work with here, and you can kind of see probably where the CXE screen size would fall. I assume this is some kind of resultant artifact from how they used essentially the same molding to make both bezels. So yes, passive matrix screen. It does work fairly nicely. I think I may need to revisit my recapping of it, because it was my very first time doing any surface mount electrolytic work, and I think I cooked them a little bit, because there is an, I guess I'll say, not factory original amount of RF noise, sort of noise, like what do you call it? I want to say jail bars, but I don't think that's right. But the little squigglies, you can see it only sometimes, but I'm guessing they're not supposed to be there. So I do wonder if I cook those capacitors a little bit. But anyway, for right now, it's way better than it was. And I can always open it up and redo it, because luckily the ones that were on here were starting to leak, but they hadn't actually damaged anything yet. They just had a little bit of surface level corrosion. So that is definitely helpful, because sometimes you'll get these destroyed, and sometimes, I don't know about so much with the passive matrix ones, but definitely I do understand, including from personal experience, that the active matrix screens, because the other one that I have is a CX with such a screen, vinegar syndrome is a problem, and obviously any LCD can run into that problem. And basically what that is, if you don't know, vinegar syndrome is there's some kind of acetic-based adhesive that sticks the polarizer, I believe, to the rest of the LCD, and that adhesive breaks down and turns into literally vinegar, which causes all sorts of fun stuff. I'm sure I have an image of the other laptop and how the screen looks on that, and I'll put a picture in now. But anyway, this one is fine. So the other things of note here is that we have a couple of buttons. We have, well, one of them's a switch, but this is a suspend button, I do believe, and then this is the power switch. And if you know anything about compact business-oriented laptops, this is a common trend that's stuck around for the entirety of Compaq, as far as I know. I can't think of any HP business models that kept it around, but maybe some very early ones. But anyway, this keyboard, I've heard that this keyboard was not universally well received. I do actually like how it feels quite a bit. It's not the best laptop keyboard I've ever touched, but it's pretty nice. It feels a lot better than the number pad, mainly, well, I don't know about mainly, but partly because these are like styrene keys, which, I don't know, feels really strange to me, but they're also just not as nice. It's not as nice of a quality construction. It's still good, but not as good. And so the box that you may have noticed, this is a memory upgrade. It is definitely special, even though there was a lot of them available at the time. Definitely special to see one of these still sealed. And you can see here this is a 16 megabyte memory module. I believe that this is the largest installable module that you can get for this laptop. I will not wind up with the largest amount of RAM that you can have, because I think this will have 4 megabytes on the motherboard, which leaves me with 20 total after this. The CXE, maybe even the CX as well, would have had, I guess, 8 on board, and then would do a total of 24 megs. But anyway, for right now, let's just turn it on and see what happens. And it's probably going to be upset because I had it off for a couple weeks now. So it's probably going to have the RTC battery. It's a nickel metal hydride, or no, it's nickel cadmium actually, battery that lives right about here. It keeps the date and time as well as the hibernation, but apparently maybe it's not dead. I guess we'll find out when we go into here. And then yeah, there's these PC card support stuff loading. Ooh, let me plug this in and then proceed to not use it for the rest of the video probably. Oh boy, where's the thing? There it is. Okay. Okay, maybe that doesn't like being hot plugged. Oh, okay, it's working. Oh yeah, that is a weird little quirk about this number pad. Does not have a numlock thing itself, but you do need numlock turned on to use it. At least to use it like a normal number pad. It works like if it was a full-size keyboard, if you understand what I mean. So when it's off, like, you'll have the arrow keys and the page up and stuff, but when it's on, you get numbers. And it thankfully does not interfere with stuff here. The integrated numpad never turns on in this scenario. It would definitely be annoying if it did. So yes, you can see here, let me just turn this and try to adjust that so that it looks... Okay, that looks obnoxious in person, but it apparently looks good on the camera. So yes, let me see what's going to be not obnoxious here. That's okay. So, yes. Do I have anything fun in DOS? I don't think I really got to messing with DOS too much. Okay, no, I don't really have anything fun in DOS to show you right now. But there is Windows, and it's a somewhat official Compaq image, though it is kind of a recreation at the same time. They didn't come with all the original stuff that it's supposed to, but, you know, they tried. So yes, it runs Windows 3.1 quite nicely, as you might imagine. And just in a moment here, you'll see the world's best piece of software open up. And another moment. There we go. Yep, Microsoft Bob. Everybody's favorite. I don't even know why I installed it. Oh god, the password. My very super secret password. So yes, this is Microsoft Bob, of course. Goodbye, Rover. Or not? Okay, there we go. So yes, it is a pretty normal Windows 3.1 install. I haven't really done as much with this as I want to yet, but I have actually used it for some actual legitimate office use, which was kind of funny because that was at work too. I typed up a couple documents on it. So yeah, like I said, it well, kind of like DOS, but not as bad. I don't have too many things installed on here yet. But here is the Sky, which is a program that does what you might expect. So let's see, what do we got here? Mars. And I don't know, is this current information? It should be because the date's accurate. At least, yeah, not doing too bad for how long this thing has been off and the battery that it has to work with. So yeah, I don't think I ever keyed in my actual location here. In fact, I'm certain that I haven't, but it is a working piece of software that apparently is either equipped with a calendar large enough to keep track of these things or is calculating it on the fly and is reasonably future-proof. Of course, we have Minesweeper. Now, I'm not actually going to play a whole game of Minesweeper right now. And one thing you might notice is that I have this little clock thing that is on all the windows. That is just something that came with the install. I don't know if Compaq installed that or the person who made this image did. I would assume Compaq did, but I don't ultimately know that. And speaking of Compaq utilities, this does not currently have everything on it, but as you can see, there's a number of things. For example, there's a Windows-based setup utility and a Windows-based diagnostics utility, which complement the diskette or hard drive DOS, I guess, utilities. They're not actually in the ROM, because this is during that time when a lot of companies, or at least two, were like, oh, let's just put it all on a floppy disk and then have it installed to the hard drive, or, you know, some combination of that. I don't know if flash ROM chips used to be like really expensive or what exactly the deal was with that, but thankfully that did not last. So yes, you can see here 75 megahertz 486 DX4, currently 12 megabytes of RAM, and the system ROM date is surely not the latest considering it's from 1994. I think this got stuff until at least 1997. And you can see it thinks it has a 1.44 meg drive. Okay, you know what this hard drive is from? This is from my LTE 5000 then, because it's a 1357 megabyte hard drive. I don't know what the biggest hard drive this can work with is without overlay, but this is big enough for my purposes with this computer anyway, because it's not like you get sound. In fact, what happens when you click sound? Oh, well, PC speaker beep. Oops, camera battery died. I have not used this much in a while, as you might expect, and it has rewarded me with the lithium battery. I think it must be pretty out of calibration, or it has suffered some kind of unfortunate degradation, because it does not last long now. So anyway, you just saw that this does automatic dimming if you leave it alone, which is kind of a nice feature. Kind of surprised it has it, because this is a pretty analog looking control, so I'm definitely kind of surprised that it has a way to override it other than just off. Which, yeah, it has what a lot of old laptops have to control the screen, just a physical switch, micro switch that either electrically breaks the connection then and there or sends a signal to somewhere to turn off the backlight. In this case, I think it's electrically breaking the connection to the backlight, but I could be wrong. And yes, you can see that this does have Western Digital graphics, which is not something that you might expect if you don't know stuff about this era of computers and older. But yes, they started, to my understanding, in the graphics business and only approached hard drives. They were definitely in hard drives by this time, but somewhat later on from their graphics days. I think that's correct, but definitely, in any case, they did graphics for a while. So I wonder what it'll tell us about the storage in here. Doesn't tell us what it is. And it mentions SCSI. I just assume that is because you theoretically could have a SCSI card in the docking station. I don't think that has native SCSI in it, but maybe it does. So yes, anyway, let's see if there's any other fun utilities here. Compaq Dictionary. Oh, SCSI is literally not installed then. So yeah, maybe that is a thing with the dock, that it has a built-in SCSI controller. But yeah, so this is just like a glossary sort of thing. So like, if you don't know what an AC adapter is, it's a self-contained power supply that converts alternating current to direct current required by the computer. The AC adapter provides external power to the computer and simultaneously charges the battery pack. So yes, not something you see often, at least not as a standalone utility. But I don't know, it may not have been very possible to piggyback on the built-in Windows help during these days, because I don't think it was a very nice system. So yes, this thing does do hibernation. I believe if you do FN and press this, yeah, okay, that makes it hibernate, which now I have made us sit here waiting until this happens. But one thing I can probably still show you from here. Oh, no, I cannot. Okay, so anyway, this is not like the later Compaq laptops and a lot of other laptops where it was the Phoenix BIOS PH disk program. I mean, it may still be. I haven't really looked into it, but it does not have any fancy front end like that. Again, I'd assume because they were trying to keep the ROM size down. And this does depend on the mentioned RTC battery pack in order to remember that it is hibernated, which I think is also true with PH disk, though usually those have an actual coin cell battery. I don't think it was until you get like fully Windows based hibernation that became not a thing. So anyway, yes, the thing that I was going to show you is the battery gauge. Oop, wrong one. So yes, you can see that the battery is not fully charged, which is to be expected, but there is still about 2 hours of runtime, and yes, this thing does indeed get quite some runtime on the battery pack. And the interesting thing is, I do believe, well, I can check right here and maybe remember off memory. So these are 3,800 milliamp hours. I think that is a larger capacity than the original cells, which certainly is part of it. And one other thing of note is that I did have trouble getting this calibrated with the new cells. Well, everything seemed fine after the first rundown and then charge, but then things got weird, and I completely unplugged the CMOS battery, unplugged the main battery, and let it sit, and then tried again, and then from there everything thankfully has been fine. And I have no idea why the screen just dimmed and undimmed. Maybe it thought the mouse moved a little bit. So yes, obviously there is the open flops. Let me go grab my flash drive and see if I can demonstrate that real quick. Okay, so one thing about this that you may notice is that, not the flash drive, but about the connector here, is that it is a little bit in there. And you could modify the case to make this less of a problem, but I really don't want to do that. So this is literally my only flash drive that I can manage to plug into here. And even then it's still a little bit of a pain because I did not space things correctly, so it sits a little lower than it should. But yes, you can plug it in, and you can see the screen lit up there, and I don't think I can get you an angle of that screen that will be usefully legible, but why not? I'll try. You can't say I didn't. Okay, so let's see if I even have anything in here still. It says error, so I do not. For the purposes of right now, I'm not going to, because I want to try to keep this video at least slightly brief, though obviously this is failing. But yes, so anyway, you'd plug a flash drive in there or a micro SD card, which you'd have a lot better time fitting in there, and then you browse using the screen and the buttons here to your image that you want, and it will virtually insert it into your virtual floppy drive. And one thing that is interesting about these is that they will emulate the seek sound. I don't know why exactly you'd go through that trouble, but it is kind of funny that it still makes track seeking noise. And if you put it in a laptop, such as my Presario 1065, which also has one that does a seek test when you power it on, it does faithfully try to recreate that, which is definitely a little bit funny. So yes, in terms of software, I don't think I have too much else that I want to show right now. I think I've covered everything. So what we will do is we will power this off and we will move on to the memory. And one thing you might guess about computers of this era, if you've ever used one, is that they don't like to turn themselves off. But Compaq evidently had some kind of way to do this. Because if you open up, well, it's already open. So yes, if you click this magic button here, and I think there is a way to trigger it from DOS as well, it will automatically power off, well, it'll shut down Windows, and then it'll power off the computer. Just like that. I guess I never really showed the bottom of the computer when I was doing the overview, because this is where your memory goes. So if we open up this, you can see our 8 megabyte module, which is, don't get me wrong, 8 megabytes for a total of 12 is already very nice to have in this, but for the price that this showed up in, like probably the one time that these will ever be available in quantity and cheap for the rest of my life, I figured might as well. So let's see. Probably would be ideal to slide the battery pack out a little bit if I can manage to. Let's see. Come on. Even when these are properly sized, it's a little bit of an art. Okay, there we go. So, now, this is the point where you say blah blah blah, ESD, blah blah blah, wear a wrist strap, all that stuff. But, you know. So this is what it looks like. Let's see, what brand? I am not sure what SEC is, but I'm guessing it might be Samsung Electronics Corporation. I don't know. I just know that it's made in Korea, which certainly there are a lot of memory players in Korea, at least historically, but Samsung is certainly the one that I know of. And this is obviously an aftermarket thing, because Compaq would have never put this stuff on here. Made in 1995, about midway through. So, obviously this is relatively early in the laptop's life, at least thinking about like now. So yes, very easy to get the memory out. So yes, anybody can just walk up to one of these laptops and steal the memory with no tools in about 10 seconds, so watch out for that. So yes, let's see. Let me get something a little nicer. There we go. That might do. And yes, I know this is horrible to open such a cool thing like this, but I'll be careful. Okay, that might do it. Yep. Almost. There we go. So yep, it is open. One thing before I actually open the box, if you ever get one of these boxes, feel this part. If you're insane like me, you'll think it feels really nice. So, black interior, I was not expecting that. So let's see here, about what I expected. We've got some kind of instruction manual, probably. Yep. And we've got maybe a warranty thing. Yeah, essentially. Well, it looks like the sticker's not quite doing things it's supposed to be doing. Wow, I'm amazed that that peeled off like that. So, yes, product quality statements, surely warranty. Yep, limited warranty statement for a billion different places. And then some kind of other limited warranty attachment. Oh, just showing you, like in a concise, easy to visualize form, what the various things have in terms of warranties, I guess. So yes, let us look through the instructions, because obviously we cannot do this without it. So obviously, yes, ESD, blah blah blah. Turn off your computer, unplug it, take out the battery. Oh, okay, so they go over how to not have the problem that I had when I first got this. So to use the release, you gotta push it in and then push the button. You know how long it took me to realize that? It is a really unfortunate amount of time. So yes, you can see here that they show, I don't know what's going on here. Oh, okay. Duh, this is just the door. I thought there was like two cards stacked on top of each other, but no. 51 pin connector. And a 41 pin connector, in case you were wondering. So one thing that you will notice right away is that this is more chips on this one, even though it is a lower capacity. So this, I'm guessing, might be made more recently. Now this is definitely Samsung chips because it has the logo, which if that's how Samsung rolled, then I'm guessing that those are not the SEC ones. I'm guessing that those are not Samsung, and maybe some company trying to seem similar. Let me just see here if I can tell when this is from. No, not really. Not off the top of my head. It seems like they might have used some slightly weird date code, 441Y. So late into some year, but I couldn't tell you which one. So yes, if we open this up, we of course get the module, and that has some information on that. I don't know how easy that it will be to see. Okay, there you go. And a little more down there. I don't know if it's going to want to focus on it. There you go. And of course this side. So let's see, any date code anywhere in here? Copyright 1994. So maybe this isn't a later one, because they did evidently have this in mind, that they could put this many chips on here and do 16 megs. So I guess they just did have the high density chips around if you wanted them. And I forget where exactly the onboard memory lives. I believe it is approximately under the floppy drive, which is on the other side of the motherboard, of course. So let us plug this in, make a real good show of lining it up and failing a million times. Yeah, that feels reasonably virgin. That is crunchy. Disturbingly crunchy. And there it is installed. Put the door in, slide it back in, and that's all there is. So I guess I'll put this in here now. I don't know what you would have put in this spot. Only thing I can think of is that I think theoretically there's some way to have a built-in modem for this. I'm not entirely clear on where that would possibly be, because there's no obvious spot that you could have a connector. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it wasn't this model that was capable of having that. But I don't know why you'd use the same big thing for both. Well, maybe just for shipping reasons. But yes, anyway, so now when we start the computer, we should find that it reports 20 megabytes of RAM. Hopefully that screen is still going to be decently visible. Okay, so the banding you see on the screen right now, that is not what I'm talking about. That's not visible in person. Just out of curiosity. No, that doesn't really change anything. So you can see here that it does detect that there's more memory now. And 20 megabytes just as expected. So that is nice. And obviously no way to enter setup here. I don't know why you gotta ignore changes thing for this, because like, why in the world would you do that? But yes, you do that, it'll repost, count the memory again, and then you'll be away to the races. I do not currently have a floppy disk image with 486. Whoa, why did you go so out of focus? That is not good. Hello, camera. You're not supposed to be the camera that does this. Come on. Okay. So now we've made it to here. I think the hibernation file is going to be upset. I believe that rebuilds when I run Windows. Unless I'm thinking of the LTE 5000. I might need to manually figure out how to rebuild that. It should be very simple, but evidently I'm thinking the LTE 5000, which does that automatically. But anyway, yes, so we have a nice 20 megabytes of memory here. Oh god, we're waiting for Microsoft Bob. I really should stop it from starting with the computer, but I think this is just my punishment for installing it. So now, if we do okay, apparently if you're on Windows 3.1, it must count the page file here as well, because obviously we do not have 42 megabytes of RAM, or realistically 40, I guess, when you consider like the 1024 thing. And you can see this product is registered to a couple of dashes. That's nice. But yes, so that is just about it for this overview of this computer. I am sure you'll see it again in another video, and I probably will have a similar video covering my LTE 5000. I hope this was somehow enjoyable, and thank you for watching. I know it has been quite some time, but yes, you know, life happens, other hobbies happen, and all that stuff, but I think I would like to try to get back into YouTube videos a little bit more than I have in the last, I mean, even few years, to be honest. More than one video a year would certainly be good. And as you can see, I just normally exited Windows so that I can do the dramatic thing of using the power switch. But yes, thank you for watching this video, and have a good day, or night, or whatever.